Indian Railways has been connecting the nation and its people since 1853. It's the world's fourth largest rail network, traversing about 68,000 route kilometers, linking more than 7,000 stations pan-India. In 2019-20, it transported 8.08 billion passengers and 1.21 billion tons of freight. Indian Railways holds a place of special pride in the hearts of billions of Indians. Indian Railways is a large consumer of electricity for its traction and non-traction applications. In 2019-20, it consumed 20.75 billion units of electricity and 2.94 billion litres of diesel for traction and non-traction purpose. As a significant consumer of energy, Indian Railways was brought under PAT scheme to reduce emission intensity by 32.6%, using the 2005 emission level as the base year to be achieved by 2030. The origins of the PAT scheme lie in the formulation of the National Action Plan on Climate Change in 2008. Under this plan, 8 national missions were established, one of these being the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency. The implementation plan for NMEEE was drawn up by the Ministry of Power and the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. A market-based regulatory mechanism called Perform, Achieve and Trade was launched. The key objective of the PAT scheme is to reduce specific energy consumption and improve energy efficiency. After the successful completion of PAT Cycle 1, the Prime Minister's Council directed to extend the PAT scheme to 3 new sectors: petroleum refineries, electricity distribution companies and Indian Railways. In PAT Cycle 2, 22 designated consumers in Indian Railways were notified. 16 zonal railways having annual energy consumption of 70,000 tons of oil equivalent and above, and 6 production units.
We have surpassed the target of 5.96% reduction in SEC by wide margin, achieving 41% reduction at 409 kg oil equivalent per coach, for which 659 energy saving certificates have been issued to us for excellent performance.
Indian Railways rose to the occasion and exceeded the ambitious targets and achieved energy savings of 1,95,894 tons of oil equivalent, which was 1,18,790 tons of oil equivalent over and above the target, an emission reduction of around 1 million tons of carbon dioxide. The savings in diesel consumption were 1,20,195 kilolitres, having worth of 805 crore rupees. The savings in electricity consumption were 866 million kilowatt hours, having worth of 498 crore rupees. The exceeding of targets for PAT Cycle 2 can largely be attributed to various proactive measures taken by the Indian Railways. Under Mission Electrification, route electrification rose from 1,646 route kilometers in 2016-17 to 4,378 route kilometers in 2019-20. The target is to achieve 100% electrification by December 2023. This will deliver savings of 2.8 billion litres per annum in diesel consumption and will reduce carbon dioxide emission of railways by 24% till 2027-28. The Indian Railways has decided that all new locomotives and EMUs will be manufactured with 3-phase technology having regenerative capability. It is envisaged that this measure will save 10 to 15% energy on locomotives and 30% on EMUs. The Indian Railways has stopped the production of conventional locomotives and diesel locomotives. The energy-saving measures also included the head-on generation or HOG system in trains, which leads to diesel saving in power cars and supersedes the need for diesel sets that supply power to coaches for lighting and air conditioning.
We formulated certain strategies to be implemented by our loco pilots. As we all know, Indian Railways is basically a labor-intensive organization, and whatever achievement and performance we achieve, it is done by our dedicated staff. In this case, our loco pilots implemented our instructions, our strategies in a very good spirit. They were continuously monitored and counseled by our officers and supervisors, which resulted into the performance that South Central Railway won 34,637 e-certs.
Indian Railways also focused on training the locomotive drivers, which included practices like maximum use of coasting, use of regenerative braking, minimizing in-shed idling of electric locomotives, and shutting off blowers when yard detention was more than 15 minutes. All these interventions have been highly effective and is clearly visible in the PAT Cycle 2 results.
Indian Railways is the backbone of India's transport infrastructure and has always been very conscious about saving energy. IR's traction energy consumption is likely to increase due to increased traffic, and to counter this, IR is taking several steps to reduce energy consumption, which include use of three-phase regenerative braking locomotives, training and counseling of drivers for coasting, and shutting off blowers during yard detention of more than 15 minutes, etc. IR is part of PAT 7 cycle, and I am very sure that all DCs of railways will further exceed the targets given to them in this PAT cycle.
India, a signatory to the 2015 International Paris Agreement on Climate Change, has pledged to reduce the carbon emission intensity by 33 to 35% by the year 2030 over the year 2005. Indian Railways is one of the largest energy consumer, is included into the PAT scheme. This is the first service sector included in cycle 2 of a PAT scheme. Indian Railways, by going green, can set a best example to the industries as well as help in achieving the target of Paris Agreement. I am happy to share that Indian Railways have saved energy having a worth of 1300 crore rupees in PAT cycle 2.
Racing towards a greener India, towards higher levels of energy efficiency, towards meaningful reductions in carbon emissions. This is Indian Railways, making a difference in the battle against climate change.